Right now, without thinking, you just took a breath. You didn't choose to. You didn't plan it. It happened the way your heart beats, automatic, invisible, completely outside your control. And yet, breathing is the one automatic function your body performs that you can also choose to override. You can slow it down, speed it up, hold it entirely. No other system in your body gives you that kind of access. So why haven't you used it? The average person takes between 17,000 and 23,000 breaths per day. That's close to 600 million breaths across an average lifetime. And according to researcher and author James Nestor, who spent years studying the science of respiration and documented his findings in a decade of research, the majority of modern humans are doing almost all of them wrong. Not slightly wrong, catastrophically wrong, in ways that are quietly reshaping your face, your immune system, your sleep, your anxiety levels, and your lifespan. This is the story of how your breath got broken and why no one told you. It starts with your nose. You have two nostrils. They look symmetrical. They're not. At any given moment, one nostril is doing about 70% of the breathing work while the other rests. They switch off roughly every 90 minutes in a cycle called the nasal cycle. Scientists have known about this since 1895 when German physician Richard Kaiser first described it. And yet, most people have never heard of it. Your nose isn't just a hole in your face. It is one of the most sophisticated air processing organs in the known biological world. The inside surface area of your nasal passages, if you unfolded it completely, would cover an area roughly the size of a queen-sized mattress. Every cubic centimeter of air that passes through your nose gets filtered, warmed to body temperature, and humidified before it reaches your lungs. It also gets mixed with a gas called nitric oxide, which your sinuses produce and which dilates your blood vessels, allowing your body to absorb up to 18% more oxygen from each breath. Your mouth produces none of that. When you breathe through your mouth, you are bypassing the most complex air filtration system your body owns. You are inhaling cold, dry, unfiltered air directly into your lungs. You are skipping the nitric oxide entirely, and you are triggering a very specific stress response in your nervous system, because mouth breathing is the breathing pattern your body evolved to use in emergencies. Think about what happens when you're terrified. Your mouth drops open. Your breath becomes fast and shallow. Your body is now in fight or flight mode, flooding your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline, preparing you to sprint or fight. Now think about how you sleep at night. If you breathe through your mouth while you sleep, which roughly 50% of adults do, according to sleep researcher Christian Guilleminault at Stanford, your body never fully leaves that emergency state. Every night, for years, decades, you are keeping your nervous system in a low-grade state of threat while you're supposed to be recovering. The consequences compound in ways you wouldn't predict. Your face changes shape. This is not a metaphor. This is physical anthropology. Evolutionary biologist Daniel Lieberman at Harvard has spent much of his career studying the human skull, and what he found in the fossil record is striking. For hundreds of thousands of years, pre-agricultural human skulls had one consistent feature: wide, forward-projected faces with large nasal cavities, broad palates, and straight teeth. Not because of genetics alone, because of function. Chewing tough, unprocessed food developed jaw muscles and stimulated bone growth. Constant nasal breathing kept the tongue pressed to the roof of the mouth, which acts as a kind of internal scaffolding, pushing the palate upward and outward. Then, about 10,000 years ago, the agricultural revolution happened. Food got soft, processed, easy. Skulls started changing within generations. Palates narrowed, faces became longer and flatter, jawbones shrank, but the number of teeth stayed the same, which is why crooked teeth and wisdom tooth impaction are almost entirely modern problems. Your ancient ancestors didn't have orthodontists. They also didn't need them. The narrow palate of a modern face doesn't just affect your smile, it shrinks your airway. And a smaller airway means your body has to work harder to move air through it, especially at night, when your muscles relax. This is where snoring comes from. This is where sleep apnea begins. And sleep apnea, a condition where your airway collapses repeatedly while you sleep, waking you partially dozens or hundreds of times per night, affects an estimated 936 million people worldwide, according to a 2019 study published in The Lancet Respiratory Medicine. Most of them don't know they have it. They just know they're always tired, always a little foggy, never quite restored by sleep. Now, zoom out further. The way most modern people breathe isn't just wrong at the structural level. It's wrong at the chemical level. Here's something your biology teacher probably never told you. Oxygen doesn't enter your cells just because your blood contains it. Oxygen enters your cells because carbon dioxide tells it to. Carbon dioxide is what signals hemoglobin, the protein in your red blood cells, to release oxygen into your tissues. This is called the Bohr effect, discovered by Danish physiologist Christian Bohr in 1904. This means carbon dioxide is not just a waste gas, it is a critical messenger. And when you breathe too fast, which is what chronic mouth breathers and anxious people tend to do, you flush carbon dioxide out of your body faster than your metabolism produces it. Less carbon dioxide means hemoglobin holds onto oxygen instead of releasing it, which means your cells receive less oxygen, even though your lungs are technically full of it. This is the hidden mechanism behind the panic of a panic attack. When someone hyperventilates, they are not running out of air. They are flooding their system with oxygen while starving their cells of it. The dizziness, the tingling hands, the sense of impending doom. These are symptoms of cellular oxygen deprivation caused by too much breathing. And a milder, chronic version of this same chemical imbalance is what many people live with every single day. Ukrainian physician Konstantin Buteyko spent decades researching this phenomenon starting in the 1950s. He observed that patients with asthma, anxiety, and hypertension all shared one characteristic. They habitually overbreathed. They moved far more air than their bodies needed. And when he trained them to slow down, to breathe through their noses, to tolerate higher levels of carbon dioxide, their symptoms reduced dramatically. The Buteyko method, once dismissed by Western medicine as fringe, has now been validated in multiple clinical trials. A 2003 study in the journal Thorax found that asthma patients who practiced nasal breathing and reduced their breathing volume reported significantly fewer symptoms and used significantly less rescue medication. So what does correct breathing actually look like? It is slower than you think. The average modern person breathes at a rate of 15 to 18 breaths per minute. But researchers studying the effects of slow nasal breathing have found that something unusual happens when breathing slows to around 5.5 breaths per minute, roughly 5.5 seconds in, 5.5 seconds out. Heart rate variability improves. The nervous system shifts from sympathetic dominance, the stress state, toward parasympathetic dominance, the rest and repair state. Blood pressure drops, anxiety decreases, focus sharpens. Ancient traditions arrived at this number independently. The Catholic Rosary, when recited as directed, produces a breathing rate of about 6 cycles per minute. Buddhist chanting and yogic pranayama practices also converge on this same respiratory rhythm, long before anyone had measured heart rate variability or understood the Bohr effect. They didn't know the mechanism. They knew the feeling. Your body already knows the feeling too. Notice what happens in the first moment you step outside on a cold morning. Your nostrils flare slightly. Your breath slows. The cold air forces you to breathe more carefully, more deliberately. Your mind clears. That's not the cold. That's your nose doing its job. That's your carbon dioxide returning to a useful level. That's your nervous system briefly, accidentally, stepping out of its default emergency state. The tragedy isn't that modern humans breathe wrong. The tragedy is that it happened so gradually, through such incremental changes in diet and environment and habit, that no one noticed the cost accumulating. You cannot feel the inflammation that chronic mouth breathing causes in your airways. You cannot feel your palate narrowing over years of low tongue posture. You cannot feel the cortisol accumulating night after night from a nervous system that never fully rests. You can only feel vaguely that you are not quite as well as you could be. A little tired, a little anxious, a little less sharp than you expected. The breath is the only bridge between your conscious mind and your autonomic nervous system. Every other organ, your heart, your liver, your kidneys, operates outside your awareness. But your breath sits at the junction point. It is the lever that moves everything else. And right now, tonight, when you lie down to sleep, your breath will do what it always does. The question is whether you'll finally let it do it right. Close your mouth. Breathe in through your nose, slowly, for about 5 seconds. Breathe out through your nose, slowly, for about 5 seconds. That's it. That's the thing you've been doing wrong for your entire life. 600 million breaths, and the fix was always this simple.